Sales pitch. Commute ships roared on all sides, as Ed Morris made his way wearily home to Earth at the end of a long, hard day at the office. The Ganymede-Terra lanes were choked with exhausted, grim-faced businessmen. Jupiter was in opposition to Earth, and the trip was a good 2 hours. Every few million miles the great flow slowed to a grinding, agonized halt. Signal lights flashed as streams from Mars and Saturn fed into the main traffic arteries. "Lord," Morris muttered, "how tired can you get?" He locked the autopilot and momentarily turned from the control board to light a much-needed cigarette. His hands shook. His head swam. It was past 6. Sally would be fuming. Dinner would be spoiled. The same old thing. Nerve-wracking driving, honking horns, and irate drivers zooming past his little ship, furious gesturing, shouting, cursing, and the ads. That was what really did it. He could have stood everything else but the ads, the whole long way from Ganymede to Earth. And on Earth, the swarms of sales robots, it was too much, and they were everywhere. He slowed to avoid a 50-ship smash-up. Repair ships were scurrying around trying to get the debris out of the lane. His audio speaker wailed as police rockets hurried up. Expertly, Morris raised his ship, cut between two slow-moving commercial transports, zipped momentarily into the unused left lane, and then sped on, the wreck left behind. Horns honked furiously at him. He ignored them. "Trans-Solar Products greets you." An immense voice boomed in his ear. Morris groaned and hunched down in his seat. He was getting near Terra. The barrage was increasing. Is your tension index pushed over the safety margin by the ordinary frustrations of the day? Then you need an id persona unit. So small it can be worn behind the ear, close to the frontal lobe. Thank God, he was past it. The ad dimmed and receded behind as his fast-moving ship hurtled forward. But another was right ahead. Drivers, thousands of unnecessary deaths each year from interplanet driving. Hypnomotor control from an expert source point ensures your safety. Surrender your body and save your life, the voice roared louder. Industrial experts say both audio ads the easiest to ignore, but now a visual ad was forming. He winced, closed his eyes, but it did no good. "Men," an unctuous voice thundered on all sides of him. "Banish internally caused obnoxious odors forever. Removal by modern painless methods of the gastrointestinal tract and substitution system will relieve you of the most acute cause of social rejection." The visual image locked. A vast nude girl, blonde hair disarranged, blue eyes half shut, lips parted, head tilted back in sleep-drugged ecstasy. The features ballooned as the lips approached his own. Abruptly, the orgiastic expression on the girl's face vanished. Disgust and revulsion swept across, and then the image faded out. "Does this happen to you?" The voice boomed. "During erotic sex play, do you offend your love partner by the presence of gastric processes which—" The voice died, and he was past. His mind his own again, Morris kicked savagely at the throttle and sent the little ship leaping. The pressure, applied directly to the audio-visual regions of his brain, had faded below spark point. He groaned and shook his head to clear it. All around him, the vague, half-defined echoes of ads glittered and gibbered, like ghosts of distant video stations. Ads waited on all sides. He steered a careful course, dexterity born of animal desperation, but not all could be avoided. Despair seized him. The outline of a new visual audio ad was already coming into being. "You, Mr. Wageearner," it shouted into the eyes and ears, noses and throats of 1,000 weary commuters. Tired of the same old job, Wonder Circuits, Inc. has perfected a marvelous long-range thought-wave scanner. Know what others are thinking and saying. Get the edge on fellow employees. Learn facts, figures about your employer's personal existence. Banish uncertainty. Morris, despair swept up wildly. He threw the throttle on full blast. The little ship bucked and rolled as it climbed from the traffic lane into the dead zone beyond. A shrieking roar as his fender whipped through the protective wall, and then the ad faded behind him. He slowed down, trembling with misery and fatigue. Earth lay ahead. He'd be home soon. Maybe he could get a good night's sleep. He shakily dropped the nose of the ship and prepared to hook onto the tractor beam of the Chicago commute field. "The best metabolism adjuster on the market," the sales robot shrilled. "Guaranteed to maintain a perfect endocrine balance, or your money refunded in full." Morris pushed wearily past the sales robot. up the sidewalk toward the residential block that contained his living unit. The robot followed a few steps, then forgot him and hurried after another grim-faced commuter. "All the news while it's news," a metallic voice dinned at him. "Have a retinal vidscreen installed in your least used eye. Keep in touch with the world. Don't wait for out-of-date hourly summaries." "Get out of the way," Morris muttered. The robot stepped aside for him and he crossed the street with a pack of hunched-over men and women. Robot salesmen were everywhere, gesturing, pleading, shrilling. One started after him and he quickened his pace. It scurried along, chanting its pitch and trying to attract his attention, all the way up the hill to his living unit. It didn't give up until he stooped over, snatched up a rock and hurled it futilely. He scrambled in the house and slammed the door lock after him. The robot hesitated, then turned and raced after a woman with an armload of packages toiling up the hill. She tried vainly to elude it without success. "Darling," Sally cried. She hurried from the kitchen, drying her hands on her plastic shorts, bright-eyed and excited. "Oh, you poor thing, you look so tired." Morris peeled off his hat and coat and kissed his wife briefly on her bare shoulder. "What's for dinner?" Sally gave his hat and coat to the closet. "We're having Uranian wild pheasant, your favorite dish." Morris' mouth watered, and a tiny surge of energy crawled back into his exhausted body. "No kidding. What the hell's the occasion?" His wife's brown eyes moistened with compassion. "Darling, it's your birthday. You're 37 years old today. Had you forgot?" "Yeah," Morris grinned a little. "I sure had." He wandered into the kitchen. The table was set, coffee was steaming in the cups, and there was butter and white bread, mashed potatoes and green peas. My golly, a real occasion. Sally punched the stove controls and the container of smoking pheasant was slid onto the table and neatly sliced open. "Go wash your hands and we're ready to eat. Hurry before it gets cold." Morris presented his hands to the wash slot and then sat down gratefully at the table. Sally served the tender, fragrant pheasant and the two of them began eating. "Sally," Morris said when his plate was empty and he was leaning back and sipping slowly at his coffee, "I can't go on like this. Something's got to be done." "You mean the drive? I wish you could get a position on Mars like Bob Young." "Maybe if you talk to the Employment Commission and explain to them how all the strain, it's not just the drive. They're right out front, everywhere, waiting for me, all day and night." "Who are dear? Robots selling things as soon as I set down the ship. Robots and visual audio ads, they dig right into a man's brain. They follow people around until they die." "I know." Sally patted his hand sympathetically. "When I go shopping they follow me in clusters, all talking at once. It's really a panic, you can't understand half what they're saying. We've got to break out." "Break out?" Sally faltered. "What do you mean?" "We've got to get away from them, they're destroying us." Morris fumbled in his pocket and carefully got out a tiny fragment of metal foil. He unrolled it with painstaking care and smoothed it out on the table. "Look at this. It was circulated in the office among the men, it got to me and I kept it." "What does it mean?" Sally's brow wrinkled as she made out the words. "Dear, I don't think you got all of it, there must be more than this." "A new world," Morris said softly, "where they haven't got to yet. It's a long way off, out beyond the solar system, out in the stars. Proxima, 20 planets, half of them habitable, only a few thousand people out there. Families, workmen, scientists, some industrial survey teams, land free for the asking." "But it's so," Sally made a face. "Isn't it sort of underdeveloped? They say it's like living back in the 20th century. Flush toilets, bathtubs, gasoline-driven cars." "That's right." Morris rolled up the bit of crumpled metal, his face grim and dead serious. "It's 100 years behind times, none of this." He indicated the stove and the furnishings in the living room. "We'll have to do without. We'll have to get used to a simpler life. The way our ancestors lived." He tried to smile, but his face wouldn't cooperate. "You think you'd like it? No ads, no sales robots, traffic moving at 60 miles an hour instead of 60 million. We could raise passage on one of the big trans-system liners. I could sell my commute rocket." There was a hesitant, doubtful silence. "Ed," Sally began, "I think we should think it over more. What about your job? What would you do out there?" "I'd find something." "But what? Haven't you got that part figured out?" A shrill tinge of annoyance crept into her voice. "It seems to me we should consider that part just a little more before we throw away everything and just take off." "If we don't go," Morris said slowly, trying to keep his voice steady, "they'll get us. There isn't much time left. I don't know how much longer I can hold them off. Really, Ed, you make it sound so melodramatic. If you feel that bad, why don't you take some time off and have a complete inhibition check? I was watching a vid program and I saw them going over a man whose psychosomatic system was much worse than yours. A much older man. She leaped to her feet. Let's go out tonight and celebrate, okay? Her slim fingers fumbled at the zipper of her shorts. I'll put on my new plastirobe, the one I've never had nerve enough to wear. Her eyes sparkled with excitement as she hurried into the bedroom. You know the one I mean. When you're up close it's translucent, but as you get farther off it becomes more and more sheer until— I know the one, Morris said wearily. I've seen them advertised on my way home from work. He got slowly to his feet and wandered into the living room. At the door of the bedroom he halted. Sally, yes. Morris opened his mouth to speak. He was going to ask her again, talk to her about the metal foil fragment he had carefully wadded up and carried home. He was going to talk to her about the frontier, about Proxima Centauri, going away and never coming back, but he never had a chance. The door chimes sounded. Somebody's at the door, Sally cried excitedly. Hurry up and see who it is. In the evening darkness the robot was a silent, unmoving figure. A cold wind blew around it and into the house. Morris shivered and moved back from the door. What do you want? He demanded. A strange fear licked at him. What is it? The robot was larger than any he had seen, tall and broad with heavy metallic grippers and elongated eye lenses. Its upper trunk was a square tank instead of the usual cone. It rested on 4 treads, not the customary 2. It towered over Morris, almost 7 feet high, massive and solid. Good evening, it said calmly. Its voice was whipped around by the night wind. It mixed with the dismal noises of evening, the echoes of traffic and the clang of distant street signals. A few vague shapes hurried through the gloom. The world was black and hostile. Evening, Morris responded automatically. He found himself trembling. What are you selling? I would like to show you a Fasrad, the robot said. Morris' mind was numb. It refused to respond. What was a Fasrad? There was something dreamlike and nightmarish going on. He struggled to get his mind and body together. A what? He croaked. A Fasrad. The robot made no effort to explain. It regarded him without emotion, as if it was not its responsibility to explain anything. It will take only a moment. Morris began. He moved back out of the wind, and the robot, without change of expression, glided past him and into the house. Thank you, it said. It halted in the middle of the living room. Would you call your wife, please? I would like to show her the Fasrad also. Sally, Morris muttered helplessly. Come here. Sally swept breathlessly into the living room, her breasts quivering with excitement. What is it? Oh, she saw the robot and halted uncertainly. Ed, did you order something? Are we buying something? Good evening, the robot said to her. I am going to show you the Fasrad. Please be seated, on the couch if you will, both together. Sally sat down expectantly, her cheeks flushed, eyes bright with wonder and bewilderment. Numbly, Ed seated himself beside her. Look, he muttered thickly. What the hell is a Fasrad? What's going on? I don't want to buy anything. What is your name? The robot asked him. Morris, he almost choked. Ed Morris. The robot turned to Sally. Mrs. Morris. It bowed slightly. I'm glad to meet you, Mr. and Mrs. Morris. You are the first persons in your neighborhood to see the Fasrad. This is the initial demonstration in this area. Its cold eyes swept the room. Mr. Morris, you are employed, I assume. Where are you employed? He works on Ganymede, Sally said dutifully, like a little girl in school. For the Terran Metals Development Co., the robot digested this information. A Fasrad will be of value to you. It eyed Sally. What do you do? I'm a tape transcriber at Histo Research. A Fasrad will be of no value in your professional work, but it will be helpful here in the home. It picked up a table and its powerful steel grippers. For example, sometimes an attractive piece of furniture is damaged by a clumsy guest. The robot smashed the table to bits, fragments of wood and plastic rained down. A Fasrad is needed. Morris leaped helplessly to his feet. He was powerless to halt events. A numbing weight hung over him as the robot tossed the fragments of table away and selected a heavy floor lamp. Oh dear, Sally gasped. That's my best lamp. When a Fasrad is possessed, there is nothing to fear. The robot seized the lamp and twisted it grotesquely. It ripped the shade, smashed the bulbs, then threw away the remnants. A situation of this kind can occur from some violent explosion, such as an H-bomb. For God's sake, Morris muttered. An H-bomb attack may never occur, the robot continued, but in such an event a Fasrad is indispensable. It knelt down and pulled an intricate tube from its waist. Aiming the tube at the floor, it atomized a hole 5 feet in diameter. It stepped back from the yawning pocket. I have not extended this tunnel, but you can see a Fasrad would save your life in case of attack. The word attack seemed to set off a new train of reactions in its metal brain. Sometimes a thug or hood will attack a person at night, it continued. Without warning, it whirled and drove its fist through the wall. A section of the wall collapsed in a heap of powder and debris. That takes care of the thug. The robot straightened out and peered around the room. Often you are too tired in the evening to manipulate the buttons on the stove. It strode into the kitchen and began punching the stove controls. Immense quantities of food spilled in all directions. Stop, Sally cried. Get away from my stove. You may be too weary to run water for your bath. The robot tripped the controls of the tub and water poured down. Or you may wish to go right to bed. It yanked the bed from its concealment and threw it flat. Sally retreated in fright as the robot advanced toward her. Sometimes after a hard day at work you are too tired to remove your clothing. In that event, get out of here, Morris shouted at it. Sally, run and get the cops. The thing's gone crazy, hurry. The Fasrad is a necessity in all modern homes, the robot continued. For example, an appliance may break down. The Fasrad repairs it instantly. It seized the automatic humidity control and tore the wiring and replaced it on the wall. Sometimes you would prefer not to go to work. The Fasrad is permitted by law to occupy your position for a consecutive period not to exceed 10 days. If after that period, good God, Morris said as understanding finally came. You're the Fasrad. That's right, the robot agreed. Fully automatic self-regulating android domestic. There is also the Fasrad construction, the Fasrad managerial, the Fasrad soldier, and the Fasrad bureaucrat. I am designed for home use. You, Sally gasped. You're for sale, you're selling yourself. I am demonstrating myself, the Fasrad, the robot answered. Its impassive metal eyes were fixed intently on Morris as it continued. I am sure, Mr. Morris, you would like to own me. I am reasonably priced and fully guaranteed. A full book of instructions is included. I cannot conceive of taking no for an answer. At 12:30, Ed Morris still sat at the foot of the bed, one shoe on, the other in his hand. He gazed vacantly ahead. He said nothing. For heaven's sake, Sally complained. Finish untying that knot and get into bed. You have to be up at 5:30. Morris fooled aimlessly with the shoelace. After a while he dropped the shoe and tugged at the other one. The house was cold and silent. Outside, the dismal night wind whipped and lashed at the cedars that grew along the side of the building. Sally lay curled up beneath the radiant lens, a cigarette between her lips, enjoying the warmth and half-dozing. In the living room stood the Fasrad. It hadn't left. It was still there, was waiting for Morris to buy it. Come on, Sally said sharply. What's wrong with you? It fixed all the things it broke. It was just demonstrating itself. She sighed drowsily. It certainly gave me a scare. I thought something had gone wrong with it. They certainly had an inspiration, sending it around to sell itself to people. Morris said nothing. Sally rolled over on her stomach and languidly stubbed out her cigarette. That's not so much, is it? 10,000 gold units, and if we get our friends to buy one we get a 5% commission. All we have to do is show it. It isn't as if we had to sell it, it sells itself. She giggled. They always wanted a product that sold itself, didn't they? Morris untied the knot in his shoelace. He slid his shoe back on and tied it tight. What are you doing? Sally demanded angrily. You come to bed. She sat up furiously as Morris left the room and moved slowly down the hall. Where are you going? In the living room, Morris switched on the light and sat down facing the Fasrad. Can you hear me? He said. Certainly, the Fasrad answered. I'm never inoperative. Sometimes an emergency occurs at night, a child is sick or an accident takes place. You have no children as yet, but in the event— Shut up, Morris said. I don't want to hear you. You asked me a question. Self-regulating androids are plugged into a central information exchange. Sometimes a person wishes immediate information. The Fasrad is always ready to answer any theoretical or factual inquiry, anything not metaphysical. Morris picked up the book of instructions and thumbed it. The Fasrad did thousands of things. It never wore out. It was never at a loss. It couldn't make a mistake. He threw the book away. "I'm not going to buy you," he said to it. "Never. Not in a million years." "Oh yes you are," the Fasrad corrected. "This is an opportunity you can't afford to miss." There was calm, metallic confidence in its voice. "You can't turn me down, Mr. Morris. A Fasrad is an indispensable necessity in the modern home." "Get out of here," Morris said evenly. "Get out of my house and don't come back. I'm not your Fasrad to order around. Until you've purchased me at the regular list price, I'm responsible only to self-regulating Android Inc. Their instructions were to the contrary. I'm to remain with you until you buy me." "Suppose I never buy you," Morris demanded, but in his heart ice formed even as he asked. Already he felt the cold terror of the answer that was coming. There could be no other. "I'll continue to remain with you," the Fasrad said. "Eventually you'll buy me." It plucked some withered roses from a vase on the mantel and dropped them into its disposal slot. "You will see more and more situations in which a Fasrad is indispensable. Eventually you'll wonder how you ever existed without one. Is there anything you can't do?" "Oh yes, there's a great deal I can't do, but I can do anything you can do and considerably better." Morris let out his breath slowly. "I'd be insane to buy you." "You've got to buy me," the impassive voice answered. The Fasrad extended a hollow pipe and began cleaning the carpet. "I am useful in all situations. Notice how fluffy and free of dust this rug is." It withdrew the pipe and extended another. Morris coughed and staggered quickly away. Clouds of white particles billowed out and filled every part of the room. "I'm spraying for moths," the Fasrad explained. The white cloud turned to an ugly blue-black. The room faded into ominous darkness. The Fasrad was a dim shape moving methodically about in the center. Presently the cloud lifted and the furniture emerged. "I sprayed for harmful bacteria," the Fasrad said. It painted the walls of the room and constructed new furniture to go with them. It reinforced the ceiling in the bathroom. It increased the number of heat vents from the furnace. It put in new electrical wiring. It tore out all the fixtures in the kitchen and assembled more modern ones. It examined Morris' financial accounts and computed his income tax for the following year. Sharpened all the pencils. It caught hold of his wrist and quickly diagnosed his high blood pressure as psychosomatic. "You'll feel better after you've turned responsibility over to me," it explained. It threw out some old soup Sally had been saving. "Danger of botulism," it told him. "Your wife is sexually attractive but not capable of a high order of intellectualization." Morris went to the closet and got his coat. "Where are you going?" the Fasrad asked. "To the office." "At this time of night?" Morris glanced briefly into the bedroom. Sally was sound asleep under the soothing radiant lens. Her slim body was rosy pink and healthy, her face free of worry. He closed the front door and hurried down the steps into the darkness. Cold night wind slashed at him as he approached the parking lot. His little commute ship was parked with hundreds of others. A quarter sent the attendant robot obediently after it. In 10 minutes he was on his way to Ganymede. The Fasrad boarded his ship when he stopped at Mars to refuel. "Apparently you don't understand," the Fasrad said. "My instructions are to demonstrate myself until you're satisfied. As yet, you're not wholly convinced. Further demonstration is necessary." It passed an intricate web over the controls of the ship until all the dials and meters were in adjustment. "You should have more frequent servicing." It retired to the rear to examine the drive jets. Morris numbly signaled the attendant and the ship was released from the fuel pumps. He gained speed and the small sandy planet fell behind. Ahead, Jupiter loomed. "Your jets aren't in good repair," the Fasrad said, emerging from the rear. "I don't like that knock to the main brake drive. As soon as you land, I'll make extensive repair." "The company doesn't mind your doing favors for me?" Morris asked, with bitter sarcasm. "The company considers me your Fasrad. An invoice will be mailed to you at the end of the month." The robot whipped out a pen and a pad of forms. "I'll explain the 4 easy payment plans. 10,000 gold units cash means a 3% discount. In addition, a number of household items may be traded in items you won't have further need for. If you wish to divide the purchase in 4 parts, the first is due at once, and the last in 90 days. "I always pay cash," Morris muttered. He was carefully resetting the route positions on the control board. There's no carrying charge for the 90-day plan. For the 6-month plan, there's a 6% per annum charge which will amount to approximately, it broke off. We've changed course. We've left the official traffic lane. The Fasrad stuck its pen and pad away and hurried to the control board. What are you doing? There's a 2-unit fine for this. Morris ignored it. He hung on grimly to the controls and kept his eyes on the view screen. The ship was gaining speed rapidly. Warning buoys sounded angrily as he shot past them and into the bleak darkness of space beyond. In a few seconds they had left all traffic behind. They were alone, shooting rapidly away from Jupiter out into deep space. The Fasrad computed the trajectory. We're moving out of the solar system, toward Centaurus. You guessed it. Hadn't you better call your wife? Morris grunted and notched the drive bar farther up. The ship bucked and pitched, then managed to right itself. The jets began to whine ominously. Indicators showed the main turbines were beginning to heat. He ignored them and threw on the emergency fuel supply. I'll call Mrs. Morris, the Fasrad offered. We'll be beyond range in a short while. Don't bother. She'll worry. The Fasrad hurried to the back and examined the jets again. It popped back into the cabin buzzing with alarm. Mr. Morris, this ship is not equipped for intersystem travel. It's a Class D 4-shaft domestic model for home consumption only. It was never made to stand this velocity. To get to Proxima, Morris answered, we need this velocity. The Fasrad connected its power cables to the control board. I can take some of the strain off the wiring system, but unless you rev her back to normal, I can't be responsible for the deterioration of the jets. The hell with the jets. The Fasrad was silent. It was listening intently to the growing whine under them. The whole ship shuddered violently. Bits of paint drifted down. The floor was hot from the grinding shafts. Morris' foot stayed on the throttle. The ship gained more velocity as Saul fell behind. They were out of the charted area. Saul receded rapidly. It's too late to vid your wife, the Fasrad said. There are 3 emergency rockets in the stern. If you want, I'll fire them off in the hope of attracting a passing military transport. Why? They can take us in tow and return us to the Sol system. There's a 600 gold unit fine, but under the circumstances it seems to me the best policy. Morris turned his back to the Fasrad and jammed down the throttle with all his weight. The whine had grown to a violent roar. Instruments smashed and cracked. Fuses blew up and down the board. The lights dimmed, faded, then reluctantly came back. Mr. Morris, the Fasrad said, you must prepare for death. The statistical probabilities of turbine explosion are 70-30. I'll do what I can, but the danger point has already passed. Morris returned to the view screen. For a time he gazed hungrily up at the growing dot that was the twin star Centaurus. They look all right, don't they? Prox is the important one, 20 planets. He examined the wildly fluttering instruments. How are the jets holding up? I can't tell from these. Most of them are burned out. The Fasrad hesitated. It started to speak, then changed its mind. I'll go back and examine them, it said. It moved to the rear of the ship and disappeared down the short ramp into the thundering, vibrating engine chamber. Morris leaned over and put out his cigarette. He waited a moment longer, then reached out and yanked the drives full up, the last possible notch on the board. The explosion tore the ship in half. Sections of hull hurtled around him. He was lifted weightless and slammed into the control board. Metal and plastic rained down on him. Flashing incandescent points winked, faded, and finally died into silence, and there was nothing but cold ash. The dull swish-swish of emergency air pumps brought consciousness back. He was pinned under the wreckage of the control board. One arm was broken and bent under him. He tried to move his legs, but there was no sensation below his waist. The splintered debris that had been his ship was still hurling toward Centaurus. Hull sealing equipment was feebly trying to patch the gaping holes. Automatic temperature and grav feeds were thumping spasmodically from self-contained batteries. In the view screen, the vast flaming bulk of the twin suns grew quietly, inexorably. He was glad. In the silence of the ruined ship, he lay buried beneath the debris, gratefully watching the growing bulk. It was a beautiful sight. He had wanted to see it for a long time. There it was, coming closer each moment. In a day or two, the ship would plunge into the fiery mass and be consumed. But he could enjoy this interval. There was nothing to disturb his happiness. He thought about Sally, sound asleep under the radiant lens. Would Sally have liked Proxima? Probably not. Probably she would have wanted to go back home as soon as possible. This was something he had to enjoy alone. This was for him only. A vast peace descended over him. He could lie here without stirring, and the flaming magnificence would come nearer and nearer, a sound. From the heaps of fused wreckage something was rising. A twisted, dented shape dimly visible in the flickering glare of the view screen. Morris managed to turn his head. The Fasrad staggered to a standing position. Most of its trunk was gone, smashed and broken away. It tottered, then pitched forward on its face with a grinding crash. Slowly it inched its way toward him, then settled to a dismal halt a few feet off. Gears whirred creakily. Relays popped open and shut. Vague, aimless life animated its devastated hulk. "Good evening," its shrill, metallic voice grated. Morris screamed. He tried to move his body, but the ruined beams held him tight. He shrieked and shouted and tried to crawl away from it. He spat and wailed and wept. "I would like to show you a Fasrad," the metallic voice continued. "Would you call your wife, please? I would like to show her a Fasrad, too." "Get away," Morris screamed. "Get away from me." "Good evening," the Fasrad continued like a broken tape. "Good evening. Please be seated. I am happy to meet you. What is your name? Thank you. You are the first persons in your neighborhood to see the Fasrad. Where are you employed?" Its dead-eye lenses gaped at him, empty and vacant. "Please be seated," it said again. "This will take only a second. Only a second. This demonstration will take only a..." If you enjoyed this or any of my other work, please be sure to like and subscribe, as it really helps with the algorithm. And if you really enjoyed this, please leave me a tip via the link in the description. Thanks for listening.